Countdown commencing. Fire 1. No? All right, rocket? Yeah, all right, cool. Hey, what's going on? This is the Space and Rocket Review. It's January 15th, 2026, and we have a lot to cover because I haven't done Space and Rocket Reviews in a little while because I've been playing too much My Winter Car. Lovely. Lovely. So, how's everybody doing? Everybody doing well? Hope everything is good. Ryan, you're asking how the Bruins felt. How did Bremo feel when the Bruins shut out the Red Wings a few nights ago? She was not happy about it. I was happy about it. But yes, this is not sports talk. This is space talk. Space and Rocket Review, not sports and goalie review. May have been a while. I'm finally catching another stream. How you doing? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah. So, Creeper over in Twitch chat has been compiling links for me for the past 3 days, and there's a long list. There's a long list of links. So this stuff is gonna come at you hot and heavy here. Like yeah, we just have to. Yeah, I usually take time to order up, like put these links in order and stuff. Nah, we're just gonna go. I hope the Red Sox find a third baseman they don't want to let go. Yeah, me too, man. How would Bremo feel if the Bruins shut out the Red Wings in space hockey? Oh, probably not good. All right. Okay. So, this is going to come at you in no particular order. This is basically news that has been compiled over the last, week and a half. So, let's roll. We're going to start with Firefly here and go. So, this one's from the 13th. Firefly Aerospace announces Alpha Block 2 configuration upgrade for Flight 8. Okay. Cedar Park, Texas, January 13th, 2026. Yoho, 74-month resub. Firefly Aerospace, a market-leading space and defense technology company, announced a Block 2 configuration upgrade for its Alpha rocket with a focus on enhancing reliability, streamlining producibility, and improving launch operations to further support commercial, civil, and national security mission demand. Firefly's upcoming Alpha Flight 7, targeted to launch in the coming weeks, will be the last flown in the current configuration and will serve as a test flight with multiple Block 2 subsystems in shadow mode to gain flight heritage and validate lessons learned ahead of the Block 2 upgrade on Alpha Flight 8. The Block 2 upgrade has been part of Firefly's strategic growth plan to meet the evolving needs of a growing global launch market and further supports Firefly's culture of continuous improvement with a focus on enhanced safety, quality, and reliability. Firefly worked closely with customers and incorporated data and lessons from our first 6 Alpha launches and hundreds of hardware tests to make upgrades that increase reliability and manufacturability with consolidated parts, key configuration upgrades, and stronger structures built with automated machinery. In addition to improving reliability and production rate, Block 2 is designed to expand Alpha's deployable launch capabilities for crucial responsive space missions, such as hypersonic testing, national security missions, including Golden Dome, and commercial satellite launches for domestic and international customers. All right, so let's take a look at the difference here. So this is the Block 1. Block 2 is over here, and it seems to have a stretched first stage. Okay. So the Alpha rocket is a 2-stage launch vehicle. It's a 2-stage medium-duty launch vehicle. It's really kind of like if we have a light-duty, medium-duty, and heavy-duty lift vehicles, right? This is right on the edge of, right on the high spot of low and right on the low spot of medium, right? It's somewhere in there. This is not that big of a rocket, but it's not a small rocket either. He said duty. Is this one 3D printed? No. Alpha is using carbon composites, similar to Rocket Lab with their Electron rocket. Automatic transmissions are voodoo magic, and I can't be convinced otherwise. Wait till you figure out how one of those things works. And you're going to be like, all right, cool. So, stretching the first stage seems to be a pretty straightforward. That's a pretty straightforward pathway for upgrading a launch vehicle, guys. That is one of the lowest hanging fruits towards stretching, towards enhancing vehicle performance. Yeah, it's just looks like they just made the LOX tank a little bit longer. Interesting. I'm not seeing anything else particularly changed. It looks like they adjusted the LOX tank on the second stage too, but just by a little bit. So it would seem that they want to carry more liquid oxygen, probably because they're running a different mixture with their Revue engines based off of their flight data. That's pretty cool. So the next alpha launch will the next alpha launch will have avionics, Block 2 avionics package kind of sitting there watching the Block 1 avionics do work, and that'll get them some good data on how the computers on this one will work. Pretty cool. Yeah, Toby, the stage 2 LOX tank is a little bit longer. Not by much, though. That would tell me that they figured out something with mixture ratio between fuel and oxidizer for their engines. Because normally you would see a stretch, like if it was just an overall performance increase, you would see a stretched RP1 tank as well. But we don't see that. They look to be exactly the same. It's just the LOX tanks that are different. Fairing seems to have not changed. So that tells me it's something with mixture, changing the tank volume, or pressure. It could be something with cryogenic propellants with carbon composite stages. Could be that they want to operate at a different pressure. So a bigger tank at a lower pressure, that could be a thing too. Either way, good to see them doing upgrades. Let's see what else we got. Increased length and structural strength. Consolidated in-house batteries and avionics. They're replacing off-the-shelf batteries and avionics with a consolidated system built in-house and used across Firefly's spacecraft and rockets to increase schedule reliability and production efficiency. So they're vertically integrating the company. Pretty cool. Optimized propellant tanks. Improved thermal protection system for added reliability and optimizing the liquid oxygen and RP1 tank configurations to increase stage burn time. Okay, so it looks like the former of our two theories is the right one. Getting the mixture right to get more performance out. That's my guess there. Pretty cool. Some of these upgrades, including the in-house avionics and thermal improvements, will be tested on Alpha Flight 7. I'm making the text big so you guys can see it. The first stage of the vehicle was recently delivered to Firefly's launch site at Vandenberg Space Force Base, and the Firefly team is now conducting final integration with second stage and payload ahead of the static fire and launch. Firefly launches out of Space Launch Complex 2, Slick 2 for short, at Vandenberg. It's over here. Where are you? Where are you? She's a bit blurry. It's over here somewhere. I'll find it. Give me a moment. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. We're out here. Google, please. 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 Cache the images, Google. Come on. You know you want to. Or don't. It's that blur right there. That's their launch site. It's out on the coast. It's about 100 miles northwest of Los Angeles. This is in Lompoc, California, at Vandenberg Space Force Base over there. It's top secret. Come on. Render. Or don't. Whatever. Fine. I'm over it. That's fine. I'm done making my video anyway. In addition to supporting customer objective, Firefly is utilizing Flight 7 as an opportunity to test key systems on the Block 2 upgrade on Flight 8, said Adam Oakes, vice president at Firefly. This approach allows us to accelerate our planned Block 2 timeline and validate improvements designed to enable more mass savings, optimize production, and increase reliability across the Alpha vehicle. Yeah, Alpha is not the most reliable vehicle around, guys. So that's very good to know that one of their big priorities is, you know, getting it to, I mean, work. That's kind of important. Here, let me show you. Alpha, here it is. So 6 missions, 2 successes, 50% success rate. Yeah, these yeah, this one didn't work. I don't know why it says 6 missions, 2 successful, 50% success rate. I think that success rate is I don't, hold on. So Dream was a demo flight. Yeah, I mean, partial failure, I guess. I guess partial failures count for half credit, in which case those numbers would make sense. Well, partial failure means we were 50% successful out of 100. So if you take 2 partial failures, 6 launches, 2 successes, 2 partial successes, we got a 50% success rate here. You know, it's good. Or something. But yeah, they really need to get the reliability of that vehicle. They really need to get the reliability of that vehicle dialed in. If they don't, yeah, Firefly is going to have some issues, because correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe Firefly IPO'd. They are a public company, and shareholders don't like it when the rocket blows up. Yeah, they don't like that. I remember watching your reaction to their last failure. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, we watched it here. Yeah. Shareholders don't like it when they're, you know, the company's, you know, the payload blows up on a launch vehicle that they invested money into. That's generally not a good thing for your company. Here, let's take a look at this stoinks. So check this out. September 19th, 2025. Let's go back over to next space flight. The last mission was April 29th, 2025. That was the message in a booster. That was the LM400 SAT bus. What the heck happened in September to make their stock tank? Interesting. Rocket Lab's down. Why is Rocket Lab down? What did they do? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Rocket Lab's doing just fine. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, Firefly was testing one of their first stages and it blew up on the test stand. I remember that now. Yeah. That's what happened. They were getting ready for their next flight and they were testing out their first stage and it blew up. That 113 down on Rocket Lab's not great for the day. But Rocket Lab hasn't done anything today. Well, you know what I mean. What else we got here? Northrop Grumman's up a little bit. What's their stoic? Dude, Northrop Grumman's up at $6.50 a share. Ay, caramba. Whoa. Dude, you know somebody bought in like right there and somebody made a lot of money. Trading at 420 a share, 650 to 650. Yowza. That's a huge return. What about Lockheed? Let me see. Yikes. Whoa. Lockheed is up there. What about Boeing? Oops. Hey, what happened here? What's going on? What happened right there? What happened? I'm not even gonna lie to you. I will disclose this information. Brimo and I bought stocks right there. We bought a lot of stock in Boeing right there during the pandemic. And then cashed out basically right there. Yeah. We sold around 180. We bought it at 95. That's how if you guys want to know why I have a shop, that's why I have a shop. Yep. Full disclosure. Yeah. Yeah. That is why that's why we were able to buy this freaking house. I'm not even kidding. We cashed out the Boeing stock 2-to-1 return and used it as a down payment for this house. I don't have any aerospace stocks right now for what it's worth. I don't have any money. Gotta have money to invest. Anyway, back to space news. So cool. They're getting ready to go. All right, we got more space news. This next one's coming from Intuitive Machines. Intuitive Machines has completed the acquisition of Lanteris Space Systems. Together, our strengths to turn Intuitive Machines into a multi-domain space prime for commercial, civil, and national security space initiatives. We are able to build, connect, and operate end-to-end mission-critical systems across low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and geostationary orbit, and cislunar space. I would like to learn more. You gonna buy SpaceX when it IPOs? Yes, most likely. I need money for my crappy car habits. Yes. I'm worried I'm going to get priced out of that stock, though, Shazbert. Your Rocket Lab Stoink has done well. They're doing quite well, dude. Yeah. No, I don't have any other stocks invested right now in the aerospace industry. We don't have any stock right now. We cashed it all. We cashed out everything for the down payment. Intuitive Machines completes that. What's Lanteris? What do they do? Lanteris satellites support missile warning and tracking, tactical intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, Earth observation, and space domain awareness. Leveraging rapid design and efficient manufacturing, Lanteris is built to deliver with speed and innovation. Okay. You bought ASML 6 months ago? Oh. Whoa. No wonder you want to buy them. No wonder you're like, hey, you want this? You got it. Jeez, man. Holy crap. Brother, what is this? What is this company? Holy shnikes. Yeah, Golden Dome, essentially, Drew. That's what they're doing. All these companies, all these small sat launch providers are pivoting into Golden Dome, which Yeah, all right. Saw that one coming. Dude, so you're telling me you bought in at like 670? The stock's at 1300, dude. Is the only company that makes lithography machines that make computer chips. Oh, TSMC is their biggest customer. Ah. Yeah, that's why that stock's doubled in the last 6 months. Good to know. Yeah. TSMC makes computer chips, guys. That's Taiwan. The company in Taiwan that makes computer chips for every freaking computer. Yep. Okay. Cool. ASML is a Dutch company too. Yes, I put about 12K in 6 months ago. Brother. Good for you. Good for you. I'm freaking happy for you, man. That's fantastic. Oh, this is fantastic. TSMC is also like 70%. Well, yeah, all these companies are. Holy sh. Dude, you gotta be kidding me. That's not as big of a jump as ASML, but man. They're trading at 341 right now. All right, anyway, this isn't Stonk and Bonds review. But yeah, that's going on with Intuitive Machines. Now, a little bit of bad news coming from Jeff Faust here. He talked to NASA. Jeff Faust is the senior writer over at Space News. He had a post here. It's very unlikely NASA will be able to recover the MAVEN Mars orbiter. NASA Planetary Science Division Director Louise Proctor says at the Small Bodies Assessment Group meeting this morning, efforts to restore contact will resume Friday after solar conjunction ends. MAVEN is one of NASA's Mars observation probes. And it's also a relay too. That's an important thing to understand. MAVEN was in orbit around Mars. Well, we don't know if it's still in orbit. I'm sure they'll figure it out. It went on the backside of Mars and it came out on the other side. Like we were looking at it and it went behind Mars. NASA was looking at it, and when it came out on the other side, it was spinning out of control. So something happened on the far side of Mars with MAVEN that we don't really know. And the thing is just spinning completely out of control and it's deorbiting itself. Or whatever hit it is put it on a decaying orbit. Interestingly enough. This was a couple of months ago. MAVEN, like I said, is one of two reconnaissance probes that we have past. It's still orbiting. It hasn't deorbited yet, I don't think. That we have orbiting around Mars. The other one is the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Now, these probes they're Mars observation satellites, but they're also relay satellites. They also use them as relays for Curiosity and Perseverance. So, yeah, not great that MAVEN went out. It needs extraterrestre bloco. That's right. If it had extraterrestre bloco, it would have been fine. Read previous 2 comments. What's up, Drew? Veritasium just did a video on them. Fun fact, ASML is the whole reason for the South China Sea tension. I'd believe that. Yeah, I'd believe that. Extraterrestre bloco. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. We should probably send another one. That'd probably be a good idea. See your last. The reason ASML went up like that is because they got extreme EUV working and shipped their first 3 nanometer machines to TSMC. Okay. Yeah, send 5. Yeah, dude, send 20. Let's go. All right, what's the next bit here? So this is coming from a company that I don't know too much about called Orbital Paradigm. Orbital Paradigm, what do they do? Reusable spacecraft for in-space cargo transport and services, return and repeat, aiming at a retropropulsive pinpoint landing on a pad for rapid reusability. Yeah, their KID capsule, a re-entry vehicle, which was on the ill-fated PSLV C-62 mission, somehow switched on and transmitted data, and we're reconstructing the trajectory. So PSLV C62 was the EOS N mission, the EOS N1 mission, and it was launched out of India last week. They had a problem with their third stage. It basically tumbled out of control. And now Orbital Paradigm was a rideshare, what's called a rideshare mission on that. So sometimes if there's aggregate space left over on a rocket, say a rocket can move 20 tons up there, and the main customer's satellite is only 10 tons. That leaves you 10 tons of extra space. So you get a bunch of other smaller satellites and put it on a payload attachment fitting dispenser. So it looks like kind of like a Christmas tree of satellites. And I guess Orbital Paradigm was one of the secondary payloads on PSLV C62, and somehow it's separated. Somehow it separated from the vehicle and transmitted data, which is very surprising. Last on Maven. Can they tell if it was impacted or something, or if it had a malfunction? Got to reestablish contact with the yard to figure out what's going on. The problem is they can't because the thing's spinning out of control. See the LinkedIn post for further results. What, that one? We've spent the last 24 hours reviewing all data during the PSLV C62 mission. Here's what we can confirm. The re-entry was harder than planned, but the vehicle held. It fell back to Earth with PSLV Stage 4? Holy crap. Whoa. That's some Kerbal stuff right there. Dude, the capsule endured a way steeper angle than the nominal mission was foreseeing, around 20 degrees instead of 5. That's, wow. It seems we entered the atmosphere still coupled to the rocket's upper stage. So I guess it didn't deploy. It came down with the stage. How did it survive? Due to the atmospheric heating, the separation ring designed by York Space reached the conditions to trigger release. This happened at around Mach 20, from which KID crossed peak G-load until 28 Gs. Almost twice the nominal scenario. The first data batch was received at 5:06 UTC and is most likely relative to a few seconds before. What the hell? So there was a prototype reentry vehicle on the PSLV C62 mission, and the prototype reentry vehicle re-entered with the upper stage and then jettisoned somehow like during peak heating. Then we received 190 seconds of system telemetry. This data confirms KID's core systems remained operational through extreme conditions. However, customer payload data was scheduled for later transmission. KID didn't have enough time to send it before ocean impact. Internal temperatures reading indicate that payloads were kept between 15 C and 30 C during the whole reentry. Little bit of perspective here. Reentry heating in centigrade gets up to 1600 C. And it was probably more than that because, it would have been about the same. It's just the period of heating would have been very quick. Based on preliminary trajectory analysis, the capsule splashed down in a remote area in the southern Indian Ocean, far away from any human presence. Yeah, there's nothing down there. Accidentally an extra successful test. Yeah, pretty good. I would call this a partial success. They didn't get the customer payload data, but still cool. KID was tested beyond its design envelope and it worked. Separation, power on, and data transmission, even after re-entry, all performed well despite degraded conditions. Oh, that's what you call that? Degraded conditions? Bro, it separated in a firestorm. Based on initial analysis, it seems that we achieved 4 out of 5 launch milestones, albeit through an off-nominal profile. Failure to deliver the customer's data prevents us from declaring the mission a success. Yep. The results have shown us that we've been able to design, develop, and qualify a vehicle that worked in harsh return conditions, allowing us to get useful information on the flight. Okay. Cool. Wow. Didn't see that one coming. That's pretty good, man. That PSLV mission did not end well. Good for them. That's cool. All right. A little bit of news from Starlink here. Oh. Whoa. Lufthansa adopted Starlink as an internet service provider for their planes. Oh, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Lufthansa is a German passenger carrier, a big one at that. Lufthansa's huge. That's crazy, man. Here. Want to see how many planes they got? How big of a fleet do they operate? Let's take a look. $274 planes. That's a lot of planes. Aren't they the only carrier in the world still flying 747s? They fly the 748, Yarg. They do. Fleet. Let's see. They have 35 A319s, 46 A320s, 31 320neos, 17 321-100s, 37 321-200s, 17 A321neos, 7 A330s, 14. They still fly A340s? It's to be retired by 2028. Dude, A340s? Whoa. They got 5 A340-600s. A350-900s, they got 31 of those. A350s, 1000s, they got 15 on order. They have 8 A380s and they have 8 747-400s and 19 748s. Oh, wait a minute. What did I see there? Dude, that picture. Can I see that picture? Oh, 748 in Lufthansa, classic Lufthansa livery. That's an airplane. Oh, baby. Look at that monster. That is a huge airplane. Look at Lufthansa Group for all the planes. That's a much bigger deal than you assume. Well, dude, they have what did that say? What did that article say? They have 19 747-8s. That's it. Those planes are gigantic. 748s are some of the biggest passenger planes and biggest planes in general. The only planes that I can think of off the top of my head that are bigger than those things, C5, and Antonov 124, Antonov 225. There's not many planes that are bigger than a 748. Those are huge. It's got a stretched fuselage. They're gigantic. No, it's bigger than an A380, dudes. Way bigger. 748s are gigantic, I'm telling you. The Lufthansa Group has even more planes. Crazy, dude. Crazy. No, A380s are short compared to a 74. The A380 is about the size of a 744, which is a 747-400. 748s are, I'm telling you, they're bigger. They're way bigger. That's awesome, man. Super cool. They have Starlinks now. Fantastic. Lufthansa Group will deploy Starlink's high-speed in-flight connectivity service fleet-wide across all airlines. Oh yeah. Okay. Hold up. What's the total? Lufthansa Group also owns Austrian Airlines, Brussels Airlines, Discover, Eurowings, ITA, Swiss International, GLC, Consulting, Flight Training, Flight Systems, and Lufthansa Technik. Holy balls. Booger Spoon, I was talking about just the size of the plane. The 748 is bigger than an A380, but yeah, I think an A380 can. I'm not sure if it can carry more people. It probably can because of the double deck. I mean, I'm not trying to harp on an A380. I'm just saying there's 748s are huge. That if you've ever seen one, you're gonna be like, I've seen a Lufthansa 748. I I was at the Castle for any Fallout 4 players. I was in South Boston at Castle Island. And Brima and I were taking a walk around Pleasure Bay, and one landed, and I'm like, oh, that's huge. It was a big freaking plane, dude. I flew in an A380. It was really nice. Yeah, A380s are big too. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not, dude. 748s are longer just by a little bit, though. A380 is a slightly higher max takeoff weight than the 748, but still, 74s are so much prettier. I agree with you, Yarg. I'm not hating on A380s, Euro bros. Don't get all bent out of shape. But the 748 is a beautiful plane. That plane is just...
Discovery, go at throttle up.
We got to get back to space news, but dang, is that plane pretty. Give me 1 second. Come on. Come on, man. It's a beaut. Look at that thing. Take a look at the anniversary livery. Oh, interesting. Huh. Yeah. That actually, yeah, you know what? Boz, I'll mention that too because that's funny. Ryanair, a economy carrier in Europe, declined to put Starlink on their planes because they said that a Starlink antenna gives them a 2% reduction in fuel efficiency. Oh, goalie, what do you got here? What do you got here? That's a 744, dude. That's not an 8, I don't think. Oh. I mean, I still love it. It's hey. Hey, how you doing, baby? That 2% was made up, yeah. I can't tell. Does it have the ridges on the back of the engines? God, goalie, that's a nice capture. Look at that freaking plane, dude. I love that thing. I've loved the 747 since I was like 5 years old. And my grandfather explained to me that it has a staircase in it. And I'm like, what? They built an airplane with a staircase in it, and it's got a double-decker? A double-decker like double-decker trains? There's double-decker airplanes? Oh my goodness! EJ, circa 1992. Yes, that absolutely was a thing. That is how that played out. Yeah, I love double-decker trains because I grew up next to a train line, the MBTA. They have Bombardier double-deckers, and I was like, double-decker buses are amazing, double-decker trains are amazing. Wait, there's a double-decker plane? Oh my goodness! That's been my favorite plane for a really long time. 3 decks if you count the cargo hold. Yeah, 4 to 5-year-old EJ probably wouldn't understand what that meant, but yes, yes. Mm-hmm. That's cool, Yarg. The A380 is a full double-decker. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool too. That's neat. The A380 didn't exist in 1992, though. That's the problem. 735 aircraft from the Lufthansa Group. Yeah. Fleet-wide implementation across all carriers. Holy balls, man. That's such a big deal. The L1011 has a kitchen in the belly. I do like the TriStar. TriStar is, yeah, that's my favorite tri-jet by a long shot. What about a double-decker couch? Well, those are good. What about a double-decker rocket? Isn't that the space shuttle? Is that why you like the space shuttle? Because it's double-decker spacecraft? I yeah. I like the space shuttle because it's a freaking plane that can fly into space. That's why little young EJ, the EJ of yesteryear, so like EJ from 25 years ago, liked the space shuttle so much, and why I still like the space shuttle, because that is the closest thing we've gotten to sci-fi. That is a spaceship. It is a spaceship. It flies into space and then it comes back down. That is a spaceship. That's why I like the space shuttle so much. It's a spaceship. Like, Dragon is cool. Don't get me wrong. I like Dragon. Hell, I'll even go so far as to say that I like Starliner and Orion. Those are fine spacecraft. It's got to fix some things with Starliner. Orion's okay. I don't have a problem with that, except with the heat shield, but that's another story. But the shuttle's a spaceship. That's something that someone can point at and be like, yo, that's a spaceship. That thing flies into space. People look at a pod and they think that looks like a gumdrop. That's kind of cool, I guess. It's a spaceship, baby. That's why I love the shuttle so much. We need more spaceships. Well, there's a guy that's working on that right now. Just saying. Hurry, Starlink fuel usage. Okay, what do we got? This is regarding Ryanair. All right, let's see. A 2%. Okay, what was the original post? Starlink for aviation has dramatically thinner satellite antennas, which reduce fuel consumption compared to bulky legacy satellite antennas. That's from Sawyer Merritt. All right, so who's this guy? Okay, that's Mike Nichols, the VP of Starlink engineering. Okay. A 2% fuel impact might be true for legacy terminals, but Starlink's terminal is a much lower profile and more efficient. Our analysis show that the fuel increased to a 737-800, which burns 800 gallons an hour, with our current design is 0.3%. Also beg to differ on whether passengers want great Wi-Fi in flight. Elon, there must be a way to get that down under 0.1%. Get fricked, Ryanair. That's funny, man. Here, hold up. What do we got here? Ryanair. I want to see if they said anything. Ryan, I forgot about this. The Ryanair X account is just crap posts. That's just a dick. How much would one ticket cost for this seat? We would never reply. I don't think there's anything about Starlink. All right. All right.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
It's just a jerk. Metric 94-month resub. Space and Rocket Review. It's so stupid. The Ryanair administrator deserves a raise. Yeah. Yeah. No one likes Ryanair. No one flies with them because they suck. Oh my goodness. All right, next bit of news. Let's see what else we got here. New hardware will steady moon rocket ride. This is coming from Boeing. Boeing team designs fin-like structures to improve aerodynamics and reduce vibration on the Artemis II mission. I'm sorry? When the Artemis II moon rocket rolls out to the launch pad, you may notice it's rocking some new hardware designed by Boeing to improve airflow. After the successful Artemis I launch in 2022, Boeing and NASA evaluated post-flight data and discovered the Space Launch System rocket faced higher than expected vibrations near the solid rocket booster attachment points. The cause? Unsteady airflow in the gap between the core stage and the two solid rocket boosters. The solution. Together with NASA, Boeing's SLS team used the challenge to mature their analysis and modeling capabilities. After fine-tuning wind tunnel testing and computational fluid dynamics simulations, the team quickly identified a simple, effective fix. 4 strakes, thin, fin-like metal structures, added to the core stage to tame unsteady airflow and reduce vibration for Artemis II and future missions. Strakes are common in aircraft design, but new to the SLS core stage. Why it matters. Artemis II will carry humans around the moon. This long-term fix keeps crews safer and will help ensure the stability of future bigger rockets. How they did it. The team analyzed wind tunnel data and computational fluid dynamics simulations to size and place the metal strakes for optimal performance. By maturing their analysis tools and streamlining decisions with NASA, Boeing engineers were able to translate modeling improvements into hardware quickly. Computer, define quickly in this context. Inserting the change time in for the next flight. We immediately pulled together a team, the best of the best, said Brendan Burrows, Strake implementation team lead. The team worked around the clock and even through the year-end break. By working closely with NASA and streamlining processes, we did in weeks what normally would be done in years. Okay, nice. Teams practiced drilling holes in Huntsville, Alabama to prepare them for the drilling operation at Kennedy Space Center. The team and the strakes were ready to be installed before the core stage was fully stacked on the mobile launcher, avoiding access issues caused by the nearby boosters. The big picture. Artemis II will be the first crewed flight of SLS and Orion, a roughly 10-day mission around the moon. This work supports NASA's goal to explore the moon and prepare for crew missions. You can't do something like this. This is CFD in Kerbal, Rob. Can't do it. I can tell you about how all this works. So right there, right here is your SRB forward attachment section. So the solid rocket booster attachment positions, the forward solid rocket booster attachment points on SLS look something like this. It's derived from the space shuttle. This is one on an external tank. And if that looks just like a pin, it's basically what it is. The forward segment, the forward segment of the SRB. So I'm talking about a non-fueled area. There's the first segment on the booster, and then there's a cylindric section up there that's a structural carrier, and then there's the avionics and the parachute components in the nose cone. Well, no parachute components on these ones. But that first structural segment actually has a pin that comes off the side. And that pin is designed to slip into this slot right here. See that? And on the top of the pin, there is a frangible nut. The frangible nut pops. And when it pops, the SRBs slip out of the pins and they break off. Yeah. The reason why it's a pin with a slot like this is so they can hang the external tank and SLS core stage by proxy, because it's shuttle derived, it's a shuttle derived launch vehicle, on the SRBs. In stacking procedures for the shuttle and SLS, you stack your SRBs first. And if you can see, the forward segment right here has this structural piece coming off of it that has the pin. Now, this obviously doesn't have an external tank stacked here. This has the cross member that holds the SRBs together. Fun fact, SLS core stage and the space shuttle external tank have this going through their intertank. This huge, gigantic aluminum truss segment to tie the forward SRBs together, because the SRB transmits most of its load through this forward attachment point. It isn't so much as pushing the entire core stage up, but pushing the front of it and pulling the MPS up with it. Fun fact, Space Shuttle was the same way. The SRBs are pulling the external tank and the Space Shuttle up into space. Yeah, weird, right? That's the primary load pathway for the SRBs on the core stage and on the Space Shuttle. So right around here on the core stage is where those wing pieces are. Now, why didn't that happen on the Space Shuttle? Well, you're dealing with slightly different aerodynamics here. They probably didn't get a lot of vibration, in aerodynamic induced vibration here, because the nose cone, because the LOX tank on the external tank would allow air to just slip past it. My guess for them experiencing a lot of turbulent air here is most likely due to the launch vehicle stage adapter, the LVSA, that is on the Space Launch System. So the LVSA is a conic piece on the core stage that's, hold up. Let me show you. Extraterrestre bloco. So check this out. Here's a view of the Block 1 version of SLS. Take a look. The vehicle stage adapter, right? Instead of having a nose cone right here, like on the Space Shuttle, right? There's a cylindric point, and you have no nose cone. There's the vehicle stage adapter, and then the ICPS, the cryogenic propulsion stage, is there with the OSA and Orion with its launch abort system up here. Between air moving over this, coming off the front of Orion, and then the launch vehicle stage adapter pushing it out and away, it's most likely getting a lot of turbulent flow over your forward SRB attachment points because of the staging adapter. Long story short, that's not as blunt. It's the way it shoots air down the core stage is going to give you a lot of turbulence in that area. So it looks like they're protecting, they're just trying to get air to flow over the front of the SRB attachment point. They're trying to create laminar flow over it, so smooth air as opposed to turbulent or dirty air. The LVSA is creating dirty air up here, no doubt. Think it will be applied to Block 2? Sure. Some clips of the CFD sims. Really? Oh, hello. Yeah, this page was helpful. So see this right here, guys? This is wind tunnel imaging, but you see all this disrupted air right here? So you're getting laminar flow, which is kind of undisrupted air up here. But anything that flies through the air is going to leave a wake. Think about like a boat going through the water. A boat leaves a wake, and that's, it makes waves and it upsets the water. Air does that too. But it does it a little bit different because water is incompressible and air is very compressible. See all this? This is the type of crap that was flowing over the forward attachment point on the SRB and causing excess vibrations. Here, nope, can't do that. Ooh, El Camino. All right, let's see what their CFD, yeah, see? Oh, look at that.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
So look. See all these waves here? In this computational fluid dynamic simulation, anytime you see swirls and waves, stuff that looks like the upside down in Stranger Things, right? That's bad. We don't want that. You want to minimize that as much as possible. Now, down the side of the rocket, you do not want to see a lot of that. You want to see air moving nice and smooth over the rocket. Now, see all this turbulent air coming in here? See all that? That's from the vehicle stage adapter. It's from upstream on the vehicle. Look, that turbulent air comes down here, and it basically is getting forced into this area by the SRB nose cone. And that's causing air to compress down here, which causes turbulent air. There's basically a vacuum right here that's pulling in everything. Where's Vecna? I think he's somewhere in the abyss over here. Hey, Epic, what's going on? 96-month resub. Not to shout armchairish, but isn't this simple aerodynamics? Shouldn't this have been known 15 years ago? This is most likely a mitigation to make the ride a little less violent, dude. This really is. These winglets aren't really going to affect too much how the vehicle flies. And then to be okay, like, fellas, look, I'm not about to sit here and be an SLS fanboy, but I am. All right, I like all big rockets. Dude, I'm sorry, like the 5-year-old in me is like, it's big, it's orange, send it. You know, like, okay, with SLS, dude, like. Finn, yeah, you probably should have known this, but you don't know what you don't know. This is what's called an unknown unknown in program management. It's something that you didn't really anticipate and you didn't take into account for. Now, why? Why would this be such an unknown unknown? Well, you could do all the analysis in the world. You could do all the simulations you want in the world of flying SLS into space. Those simulations are they're just analysis until it gets corroborated with flight data. Meaning, great, man, your simulation can be fantastic. It doesn't mean nothing if the rocket doesn't fly. It means nothing if the rocket doesn't fly. Right? How would you know? How would you know how this thing flies through the air until you go and do it? That speaks to something in mathematics and aerodynamics that pertain to aerodynamics called Navier-Stokes equations. We still don't know exactly how to perfectly simulate something flying through the air. We still do not know how to do that. It's called Navier-Stokes equations. Look it up. All right. Whoever cracks that is going to make a lot of money because that means we don't need to build flight prototypes. We could just build it, simulate it on the computer and send it and it'll work. But until somebody solves those equations, flight data is what corroborates your simulation. Finn, long story short, they didn't fly it. You didn't fly it until 2022. The SLS program started in 2014. You went 8 years without flying the damn thing. So how do you know how good your CFD is if the damn thing never flew? They were only able to achieve this information and dial in their simulation analytics based off of the flight data from Artemis 1. Long story short, you need to fly the damn thing more to learn this unknown unknown. You didn't know this was going to happen. There's no way you could have there's no way you could have figured it out. They could have maybe gotten close in their analysis based off of all the flight data from the space shuttle, right? But your CFD is only as good as how much you know about aerodynamics. And you're not going to know a lot about aerodynamics when you're flying a new vehicle like this. You don't know until you corroborate it with flight data. That's the only way to prove that your analysis was correct. In this case, there was a slight deviation of analysis. The plain English way of saying it is that you would have figured this out if you flew it earlier. Just saying. Can they wind tunnel that stuff? Only to a certain extent, Yard. Basically, your simulation isn't going to show this, and they wouldn't know to simulate this exact thing this way without the flight data, guys. There's no mathematical way of solving that. We don't know how to do that. Seriously, Navier-Stokes equations. We don't know how to do that. We can't. There's no math theorem to get you 100% accurate simulation. We can get like 95, 96, maybe 97% of the way there, but there's still margin for error. This is the margin for error. Now that they have flight data, they can dial their simulations in much more accurately. This will give you a much more accurate simulation. And in their accurate simulations, this is what they found. That putting winglets here, because this is basically a gigantic vacuum cleaner for turbulent flow and drag between the SRB and the core stage, right? Putting a winglet here will create laminar flow, right? It'll create smooth air, and it won't create these gigantic vortexes that are coming off the nose cone of the SRB. SLS for 100 years. Jack, you want to hear something messed up, dude? In the year of our Jebediah Kerman, 2026, I refuse to believe somebody that says we can't scale up production of SLS. Do you see, like, bro, we have freaking robots that walk around and do tasks and stuff. Like, you're telling me we can't mass produce this rocket that's basically using heritage 1970s technology? We can't mass produce that? That's like as silly as saying that Ford couldn't go make new Ford Mustangs. Like, could Ford manufacture a 67 Mustang nowadays? Could they mass produce it? Yeah, absolutely. Would it be better than a 67 Mustang that was manufactured in 1967? Yes, absolutely. Could you make it for an absurdly low cost? Yes, absolutely, because it doesn't have all this, doesn't have airbags, it doesn't have all this, like, yeah, we could make that nowadays. We could make it way better. And there's no reason why we couldn't mass produce it. What I'm trying to tell you is that SLS is such quote unquote old technology. You should be able to make this. You should be able to make a lot of these things. Like, SLS for 100 years. Like, brother, we should have 50 of these things teed up. Would this be a potential use for AI? For solving mathematical theorem, Yarg? Yeah, but an AI, once again, an AI is only as good as the prompts that you feed it, Like, an AI for solving Navier-Stokes equations would need, like, a consortium of, like, all the foremost experts on mathematical computation for aerodynamics. Like, all of them working together, which, I don't know, maybe that'll happen. Dude, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to mass produce this stuff. But either way, really awesome simulation from NASA. This is super cool. Fix the computational equations. Make no mistakes. I don't know if you caught this or others, but Jared posted a small snippet about nuclear stuff on X. Yeah, I'm getting to it, Rav. Thank you. Mass-produce modernized Saturn V and Saturn 1B is my plan if I start an aerospace company. Look me up, Trey. I'll be a systems engineer. If you do that. Look me up, dog. I'm good at managing space programs. Pretty damn good at it. Actually, you really want my honest opinion, Trey? I'll bet you a Saturn V would be easier to mass produce than an SLS. There, I said it. Think about it. With the Saturn V, you can have the same assembly line making S2s and S2s and S1s. Same core diameter. So you have the same assembly line cranking out tankage for S2 and S1s, and then, you use milled aluminum iso or orthogrid structures, right? For your stringers, you could save a ton of mass and then switch the S1C to a common dome to save even more mass, because with modern manufacturing and stir welding, you could probably make the S1C not be able to have an inner tank. The S1C had an inner tank because of structural limitations of riveted aluminum stringers. That's why the S1C is two separated tanks. I'll bet you it would be easier. It'd probably be easier to mass produce that over SLSs. I'm sure there's an application, Yarg, and I'm sure somebody's working on it. Okay, but what about Starship? Starship's already being mass produced, John. I want more mass produced rockets, not less. Did I not make this clear? How about F1 engines? Like I said, man, if we were able to hand machine an F1 engine and get the reliability rate to the Saturn V's reliability rate, a CNC machine should be able to make those parts. Shouldn't be a big deal. It would require a little bit of testing, probably one or two of them blowing up on the test stand so we could figure out what the machinists were actually doing. But can you imagine an F1 engine with a hydrostatic bearing like a Raptor? That would be a pretty good engine, just saying. No, the Saturn V is, I would say that the Saturn V is simpler in terms of launch vehicle, not the payloads on top. The LEM and the CSM is what made the Saturn V, what makes Saturn V more complicated than SLS. But in terms of like first stage, second stage, third stage, so the S1C, the S2, and the S4B, brother, we could modernize that. Oh yeah, we can modernize that. We could make that. You know, I know that there's like, you search around on the internet, you know, if you Google like, why can't we make Saturn V's today? And people will say, well, we don't know how to. Yeah, we know how to. Of course we know how to. The thing is that it would be too expensive. People say it would be too expensive. No, that's just cope. We could absolutely do it. And we could probably make it better than the Saturn V of the 60s, just like that 67 Mustang analogy again. But yeah, Finn, good. That was a good question. It was a little bit of a long response, but that's the gist of it. Good stuff, man. I want to see those winglets again. Thanks for linking up the pictures too, or the simulation. So yeah, they're just trying to create laminar flow in this spot between the forward SRB nose cone and the core stage. Like I said, because the vehicle staging adapter is causing turbulence. Now right there's the frangible nut housing right there, and then there's the pin. There's the slot, and then that's the pin right there. The SRB attaches from a big metal rod that goes through here, and the core stage has a gigantic truss segment that goes that way. They did make a better 67 Mustang in 2005. Yeah, right. Would Saturn production line be simpler than Starship? But all the master machinist welders are either retired or dead. Serge, you're telling me nobody can figure out what they were doing? No one? We can't figure out what they did? We could. It would just take some time. The F1 engine is the closest you can get a liquid engine to be an SRB. Yeah, exactly. The F1, yeah, Trey, I say that all the time. The F1 engine basically has two settings, on and off, and that's about it. The limitation of the Saturn V is that the engineers were hands-on, taking notes and adjusting manufacturing procedures. These notes and procedures are lost, so Saturn V manufacturing would be from scratch. I mean, Drew, in my armchair engineer opinion, we're not TIG welding these damn tanks together, and nor are we using a riveted aluminum stringer with this design. If we did modern, like 7000 series aluminum, milled orthogrid, like what the core stage is made out of, friction stir welded that together, that eliminates most of the tankage manufacturing unknown unknowns. The real unknown unknowns here rely with propulsion. They lie with the propulsion, the F1 engine. Mostly the F1, I would say. J2, we could probably figure it out. But yeah, just the F1 and the J2, and that's it. And then you could do a 6.6 meter fairing on top of that, or we could opt for a 10 meter fairing on top of the S2 and make it so the Saturn V could launch with the S4B on top or not. I know about the hands-on limitations. I get it. What I'm saying is that the hands-on limitations are all hands-on limitations for outdated manufacturing mechanisms. They had guys hand welding these tanks together. No way. And hand riveting the stringers. We don't need to do any of that. We can just do that. Stir welding and CNC orthogrids on a press brake it's all automated, and that will immediately basically retire the risk there. The big risk is with propulsion. I want to see J2s fly again. Such good engines. Thanks for explaining. I do understand what you're saying, but man, all I hear is unknowns all over the place. Fix some of it and hope the crew version doesn't blow up. Finn, I will tell you that with SLS, I'm worried about the unknowns surrounding the heat shield. Actually,
Discovery, go at throttle.
I would classify Orion's heat shield as a known unknown. It's something that you know should work, but might, still like you don't know for sure. That's a known unknown. I'm not comfortable with known unknowns when there's people on board, but the general consensus among NASA and Jared Isaacman and pretty much everybody is that the modified flight profile, the modified reentry flight profile for the Artemis II capsule should prevent charring and spalling. And yeah, Finn, this is where I kind of agree with you. I don't give a frick how much analysis you do. You ain't going to know if it works until you prove that it works. We tried to prove that it worked during Artemis 1 and it didn't work. Didn't do what we wanted it to do. Huge known unknown. I don't think known unknowns is a good idea with people on board, but whatever. What do I know? i.e. make that damn heat shield work, then put people on it. But we can't do that because the SLS program is not hardware rich. And this is what I mean about mass producing these things. If we made more of these things, we wouldn't have this problem. Because we could say, oh, let's launch another one and let's make sure that this flight profile works before we put people on it. It's only like one of the most critical phases of the mission you're leaving up to chance. But then again, the flip side of that argument is that they have flight data from Artemis 1, so they should be able to corroborate it correctly. But also at the same time, I don't know if I want to play this. I don't know if I want to play the spaceflight game like that. I don't think that's a good idea. That's correct, Alleviate. They're eliminating as many as possible with the Starship program. Yep. Can we make the F1 into a reusable engine? I don't know. Yeah, Drunar's right. Reusing if we built a vanilla, like an exact copy of the Apollo style F1 engines, the throat and the first part of the nozzle, the nozzle is made out of brazed copper tubes. Once again, that is an extremely outdated way of doing cooling channels for a rocket engine. We could 3D print that. You could use a laser sinterer to make the cooling channels, and it would be way stronger and way lighter. Yeah, they brazed a bunch of tubes together to make rocket engines back in the day. That's how F1s work. That's how RL10s work. That's how J2s worked. The other way you could do that, guys, is with a milled copper jacket liner on the inside of the nozzle, like what Raptor does. Raptor has like a think about it. If the rocket engine is like a suit jacket, all right, the liner is like an undershirt, And that's where the cooling channels, how the cooling channels for Raptor work. It's a milled copper liner on the inside of the nozzle. Now, how they made that, don't know. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. All right, next bit of news. This is coming from Jared Isaacman, NASA's 15th administrator. Yesterday, I met with SpaceX and Blue Origin to understand the latest plans to accelerate NASA's Artemis timeline. The capabilities these two partners are pioneering will be essential to returning NASA astronauts to the lunar surface, establishing an enduring presence, and advancing American leadership on the moon and beyond. To meet President Trump's national security policy objectives, we will challenge every requirement, clear every obstacle, delete every blocker, and empower the team to deliver. And we will do it with time to spare. Damn, dude. Oh, that's pretty cool, Devious. Yeah, I talked to this guy on Twitter once. That was pretty neat. I do like the rhetoric, guys. I really do. All right, let's see. What else? What else is Rook up to? Recognizing excellence matters. Yesterday, I flew Ashley and Daniel from the NASA Kennedy workforce in my F5s. Ashley has served at NASA for almost 9 years and currently works in systems engineering and integration for exploration ground systems, helping ensure the infrastructure behind exploration missions is ready when it's needed. Daniel has served at NASA for 23 years, currently working as a manager of the Ground and Mission Operations Office for Commercial Crew, supporting the day-to-day execution that keeps human spaceflight moving safely and reliably. Ashley and Daniel represent the kind of talent and commitment that exists across NASA. They're the first of what I hope will be hundreds of opportunities to recognize and reward the people who show up every day to do hard things and change the world. Jared Isaacman be like, step into my office. There's Ashley. There's Diagonal. Hello. Does his helmet have the Imperial logo on it? Yeah, so? No, drogue gun. It's a component to the ejector seat, Sea Kraken. Okay, when the ejector seat goes, right, you need a drogue chute. So you eject, rocket engine fires, canopy releases, rocket engine fires, you get away from the airplane, and then there's a gun on the back of the ejector seat. So it's like a parachute mortar on a capsule. It shoots the pilot chute out, so you slow down, so you can deploy the main chute and come down and land. But you got to slow down before you deploy your main chute, because you never know with a fighter jet. The fighter jet, you never know what speed you're going to punch out at. Ideally, you don't want it to be fast. Ideally. But, just in case there's a drogue chute, you can have a drogue chute to slow down as a treat. Yeah, he's got the Imperial roundel on his helmet. He's had that forever, dudes. He has more recent posts that you'll enjoy. There's no doubt in my mind. Actually, he's making his rounds on the news all the time, guys. He's going on all the news networks. I saw him when I was watching the news the other day. I'm like, dude, okay. Yeah, he's going all over the place. Talking with people, talking to the news networks, telling people about NASA's mission and stuff. I appreciate it, man. I called... When Sean Duffy was doing that, I said that that's good, even though he was not the best interim NASA administrator around. But Going on the news and telling people about what NASA's going to do is what we need. NASA needs to advertise. That's good. That's what we want. Clearing obstacles needed, of course, but are there any principles that limit the speed of development? Dabbledot, I have always said, guys, you want to know why you want to know why SLS is so damn slow? You want to know why the Artemis program is so slow? Because there's no goal. There's no goals. In order for a cost-plus contracted space program to work correctly, in order for a cost-plus contract to work correctly, you need to have a timeline. What do you think the Apollo program was? That was cost-plus. So what's the difference between the Apollo program and the Artemis program? A deadline. Clear and concise stakeholder expectations given by the executive of the United States is how NASA needs to operate. If it does not have that, what is the incentive of getting anything done on any timely schedule when you're not even sure when the next rocket is going to fly? That incentivizes waste. Because, I mean, if you look at it from a, like, let's just take SLS, for instance. You look at it from Boeing's side of the pond. Like, look at it from their view. Do they want to make money off this contract? Well, yeah, absolutely. Do you want to ideally deliver stuff on time? Yes, but how can you deliver stuff on time when you don't know when you need the next one? You have no idea. How can they do that? What's the incentive there? There is none. The incentive is to just go slow and methodical. One, so the contract lasts longer. That's what everybody refers to as a pork project, right? Like, do the most amount of work and minimal amount of results, right? But also at the same time, if you're looking at it from a straight engineering point of view, like Boeing has to keep all these engineers and all these people that work on this rocket on a retainer. That's not exactly a cheap thing to do, to keep all that personnel involved. But, when you're going at a snail's pace, you don't just fire, like half of the engineers that work on the project in hopes that you're going to rehire them next year when the rocket launches. You have to keep a ton of employees on retainer for building these damn things. So it incentivizes waste without a deadline. And then cost-plus contracts get abused, which is basically what's been going on for like the last 15 years. Rook's going to change that. Rook is going to change that, and, the president gave NASA a goal. He gave them a goal. Get back to the moon by 2028. Build a nuclear-powered base on the moon by 2030. There you go. Serious, concrete deadlines. Right there. Watch. The entire system will galvanize. And they'll start going quickly. That's the key. The key is just having, long story short, the key is having a president that takes our spaceflight policy very seriously. And I would argue that no one has taken it seriously since basically the Cold War. The only guy I would put like high up on that list is Mike Griffin, who was George Bush Jr.'s second NASA administrator during his second term from 04 to 08. That guy took it seriously. And then everything that he was working on got canceled. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman personally ordered 6,000 Krispy Kreme donuts and coffee for employees in Huntsville, Alabama, ahead of Artemis 2. Caffeine worked really well during the Apollo era. I can confirm that. Secondhand account, but I can confirm it, Andrew. Yeah. When I asked Charlie Duke what Mission Control smelled like during July of 1969 when Neil and Buzz landed on the moon, he said it smelled like a pool hall. Coffee and smokes, baby. I'm like, high five! High five! Dude, those are his words. He said it smelled like a pool hall. I'm like, all right. All right. We got to go back. We are going back, dude. Less than a month. You guys understand the Artemis 2 mission is like 3 weeks away. Rollout is this weekend. This weekend. Boom. Boom. Beautiful. You're going to Orlando tomorrow? That's awesome, Cirrus. Look, man. Actually, how old is this picture? Do they have the strakes installed? They don't have the strakes installed in this picture, the ones that we just learned about. That's an old picture. NASA. God. You don't own space. NASA does. All right, what's the next thing I want here? So speaking of NASA operations, coming from the commercial crew office in SpaceX here, Crew 11 did make its return last night. The Dragon came down and re-entered at about 3:40 in the morning. I was asleep. But here's some footage from NASA's WB-57 of the capsule with 4 good chutes splashing down in the Pacific. The re-entry corridor, guys, was actually over, some of it went over Southern California, leading to a bunch of people being able to see it in Southern California, which is pretty sweet. I believe actually Jack got a picture of it too. Mr. Yoke, Jacques Bayer. Yeah, he did. Yeah, flew right over Vandenberg. Pretty good shot from Mr. Yak. I miss hanging out with him, dude. Is that bad? Jack's just a genuinely fun dude to be around. Oh, my hat! Oh, my hat! I thought the point of going to the West Coast was to keep it from coming in over land. No, it's about the trunk. The trunk, if they come in from the West Coast, John, the trunk lands in the Pacific Ocean. There's no chance of the trunk landing on anything. That's all. Hey, Radio, what's going on? Yeah, he's at Astroforge. I know. So like I said, guys, Artemis 2 is sending people out around the moon. They're not going to land, but they're going around, and the rollout is this weekend. So this is coming from the NASA Artemis Twitter account. Knock, knock. NASA's Crawler Transporter 2 recently arrived at the Vehicle Assembly Building at NASA Kennedy. On January 17th, NASA's Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft will ride the crawler to Launchpad 39B in preparation for the Artemis 2 mission around the moon. CT2, baby. Built in 1965 by the Marion Power Shovel Corporation. This thing is a piece of kit-bashed mining equipment. And that's what's used to move the launch umbilical tower, mobile launcher platform, and the rocket out to the pad. Just don't let Jack cook your bacon. Yes. Yeah, Big Pooh, he's cool, man. Eric Frazier got one too. Yeah, Eric's a regular over at NSF. Holy moly, look at that. That's a nice. Dude, that's awesome. This SLS is gonna have people on it. We're like 3 weeks away from a crew launch for SLS. I didn't know when this day would come, to be honest with you. We're going to see that again. Now, this is Artemis 1. This was in 2022. Just Time between Artemis 1 and 2 flew by. Yeah. Imagine being strapped on top of that monster. It would be a little bit of a pucker moment for me, Fluffy. What a monster of a vehicle, dude. Think we'll see another blown out security door? No. Alucard, they completely rebuilt and re-armored ML1 to make sure that that doesn't happen during Artemis 2 and Artemis 3. How do I know? I know the people that put the doors in. Sorry, I don't have a better source than that. You gotta believe me, man. I know the guys that work on it. Or at least some of the people there. Biased sources. Well, if they blow the doors off the mobile launcher again, we know it wasn't good enough, you know? Yeah, I know a good amount of people that work on this bad boy. We aren't in church. I trust you, but don't believe you. Well, if we, you know, when this thing goes to launch, if you see the door fly off into the distance, then you know it wasn't good enough. Also, while we're at it, fellas, if you're watching, can you take a banana during rollout and hold a banana up in your hand during rollout so we get a banana for scale when the ML is rolling out? If you could, that'd be awesome, because that was hilarious last time. That was the funniest thing ever. Either way, I'm going to blame goalie. That's fine. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever saw the picture of Artemis 1 rollout. There's dudes standing on top of the mobile launch. There's a dude standing on top of the ML with a banana in his hand. And he said he did it because he said, I wished it would happen. Because that would be really funny. And then he went and did it. And then I felt weird. Not even kidding. That just happened. Fellas, let's go 2 for 2. Roll out with a banana in your hand. You're not going to fall for the banana in the rocket nozzle? It was more amazing when they blew the doors off the first time. That was pretty sick, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if the pictures of that were ever public, but they blew the doors off the mobile launcher. It was, yeah. Yes, this picture. Yes. That dude watches the stream. I'm not saying who it is. It's not goalie. Yes. Banana for scale. Roll out with a W for Wombo. Yep. That's what I mean when I say I know people. Do it again, man. Do it again for science. It has to be Baron. It's not Baron. I don't actually know where Baron works, Leon. Most people aren't usually forthcoming with that information just because, you know, like OPSEC and stuff. Why were they quiet about Artemis 1 damage? They weren't. It's clearly Drummer. X to doubt. The red team doing their emergency fix was cool. Yeah, Rares. That's good stuff, man. Do you have Jared's Marshall post about nuclear? Please hold. Jared just posted a picture of his. Hello. Oh, dick. It's got the 250 logo on it. That's pretty neat. Yeah. Jared Isaacman has he bought a bunch of F5s. And guy is basically playing GTA Online in real life, except now he runs NASA. I am dead serious when I say that is how he flies around the country to visit all of NASA's facilities. He flies his fighter jet. Not even kidding. MiG-28s, yep. You can't buy just one F5. No, he bought like 5 of them. I sent it to you if you can't find it. Oh, thank you. Okay. What do we got here? We're putting nuclear power and propulsion in space and on the moon. NASA Marshall is at the heart of this effort. Okay. What news network is this?
At Marshall will have expanded duties as the commercial economy in low Earth orbit and in deep space matures. And Marshall will be going more nuclear.
So we absolutely need nuclear power on the moon, and that's part of the national space policy as well. We want to use nuclear propulsion in space. I mean, we could be building that literally like the transcontinental railroad equivalency between Earth, Moon, Mars, and beyond.
At Marshall will have expanded duties as the commercial economy.
Neat. Great. Oh, that's the local affiliate. Okay. I know that network. Yes. I didn't until like right now. Now I know though. Does that help? I'm sorry, I'm hung up on that shot of an F5. I'd never really realized how pretty an F5 is. That's a really nice looking airplane. I like them. I mean, I still like F4s more, but from just looks, not performance. Even though they go fast. It's a pretty airplane. Yeah. Do you get to use the NASA ones as administrator? I fly my own aircraft, cover all my own expenses, and donate my salary to Space Camp. To the limits of the law, I will never have taxpayers incur $1 of expense for me to serve as NASA as the administrator of NASA. This includes donating the use of my aircraft for workforce incentive flights and inspiration. Habs versus Buffalo in 5 minutes. Who wins? I think the Canadians will win that, as Stufaman, as much as I don't like it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Dude, quick tangent. That must be the best feeling in the world, knowing you're set for life and you can just do whatever you want. That's pretty cool. I would hope to get there one day. I don't know how. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. That is a pretty neat thing. Can you imagine? You don't have to worry about that. Biggest thing you got to worry about is making sure you fly your fighter jet around and to talk to people that work at NASA. Like, F4s are loud as heck on takeoff. You know, that's what 2 J79s will do, man. They don't exactly make hush kits for those things. Now the CJ805, they make a hush kit for that. Didn't work very well. They still fly T-38s? NASA does, yes. NASA has a squadron of T-38s, yep. Stop owning Fords and you would have that money. I mean, goalie, I get it, ha ha ha, joke, but I'll be honest, a Chrysler product is what's sapping most of my funds right now. Yeah, Bill, exactly. Frick you money. That's, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but the IRS isn't a car, spoiled, so it wouldn't have fit the joke very well. Let's go see what's going on down at old Blue Origin here. Let's see. Blue, sample this! It was the best sample around. What about the failed mission? What mission? Our Honeybee Robotics Exploration Systems have shipped the sample delivery carousel to NASA Goddard, the first stop on a journey to Saturn's moon, Titan, for NASA's Dragonfly mission. There, it will undergo integration with the Dragonfly Mass Spectrometer, DRAMS, and environmental testing. The carousel is a key... Please hold. Boop, 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 boop. The carousel is a key component of our Drill for Acquisition of Complex Organics Draco system. I hate backronyms so much. Which will drill into Titan's cryogenic ice and regolith, and then pneumatically transfer samples to DRAMS. Well, that's pretty neat. How neat is that? They named a moon after my dog. Yo, let's go. That's a van. I thought it was SpaceX that had the Dragonfly mission. Well, this is a bit of instrumentation for that mission, spoiled. It's not the actual launch. Dragonfly is launching on Falcon Heavy. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nice observation. I provide insightful news. So Dragonfly was going to be canceled, but suddenly it got revived. Is that what I'm getting at? Yeah. Yes. Guys, look, I'll just give you, Jeremy, I'll just give you a quick kind of synopsis of this. Look, the president's budget proposal for NASA that was like the one that was like a, I don't know, like a $6 billion, $7 billion reduction in NASA sciences. Right when that budget was proposed, I looked at it for about 30 seconds and said, there's no way in hell that that's happening. It won't stick. It's a low ball. It's a negotiation because people don't like seeing this, but that's how the president rolls. It's a negotiation tactic somehow. Or could be something else. I don't know. But he wheels and deals. That's how he does things. He threw a low ball at NASA, and NASA actually ended up getting more money. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, yeah, they gave him money to spite him. Well, you mean you could say that, yeah, sure, but also he has these grandiose presidential plans for, going back to the moon and stuff, right? So NASA ending up with more money is probably better for achieving that goal. Because the funding bill that went through, we looked at it the other day, the funding bill went through and said that there's a lot of discretionary funds in there for certain NASA services, meaning that NASA can spend, long story short, that NASA can spend the money how they see fit for certain programs, which is very interesting. I've not seen that in a little while or ever. So, like I said, man, people can say, oh, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Yeah, maybe. That's possible. But also, I think this is orchestrated, man. I think it is there's a lot more subtleties going on here than, just, yeah, okay, broken clock is right twice a day. You know what I mean? I don't think that was on purpose. Yeah, you don't think so. How is Titan? Titan's fine. Yeah, he's running around. It's great. Got to be careful about running around the backyard. My neighbor saw some coyotes the other day. Be careful of those. Yeah, living in the woods. Double-edged sword. I mean, to be fair, Titan would probably rip one of those things apart. He's a strong dog. So a broken winter car will mean you succeed at least once. I see what you're doing, though. A little bit of a stretch, but yeah, okay. Do you think that it's national lunch to the moon? Yes. Sure. The funny part about that is that if that was the tactic, the outrage pushback was actually required for it to work, so the outrage pushback is kind of justified. That's what I'm saying, Space Ghost. And before, like, guys, before you think, no, that's probably not right. I don't think that's what happened. Bro, that is what they did. That's what Jim Bridenstine did 5 years, or not, it's not 5 years ago anymore. That's what he did in 2018. That's what he did with HLS. Yeah, this behavior has happened before with the same president. I'm just putting it out there. He'll eat a coyote for breakfast. Paul, that's right. He's part dingo, man. Of course, dude, that dog's bite is strong. Very strong. Like, dude, he rips apart Chewy toys. Like, just rips them apart. Actually, what Titan does, Titan is one of the most articulate dogs I've ever encountered, which is very strange. Like, he will take a Chewy, drop it down in front of him, lie down, and he will put his paws up on the Chewy. He'll grab it with his paws and actually rip the thing apart like he's taking a bite out of something. Well, he is taking a bite of it. You get what I'm trying to say. He doesn't like the antler, John. He destroyed the goose head, though. Or the duck head. Oh, yeah, he ate that real fast. He doesn't like the antler too much. He only chews on that from time to time. Yeah, Tessa, he holds stuff in his paw with his paws. Strangest thing, dude. Like, I know there's probably other dogs that do that. I've never seen that before. He'll hold something like this while he's lying down and, like, take bites out of it. Put it up like it, dude, it's weird. First time I saw it, I'm like, how do you know how to do that? All right. My kids do that with ribs. Oh, that's good meat. Both your labs did that? Okay, apparently this is a thing that dogs do. Dude, I know what you guys are saying, but dude, he turns his paws. His paws are like facing inward, and he'll like, I'm telling you, it's not like, I get it. Other paws put, like other dogs put their paws on it. Like, dude, he'll hold it. It's this. I'll take a picture of it. I'll show you. It's weird, man. Coyotes range much further into human areas than people usually notice. This is the selfish reason why pet cats should be indoor cats. I have a neighbor with 3 different missing cat posters up in the neighborhood. He doesn't realize that he's just feeding the local coyotes. Oh. Well, it's funny you guys mentioned that. Titan is part lab, now that I'm remembering. He's part lab. He's like 50% cattle dog, right? I think it was like 10% boxer, 20% lab, and then the rest is just mutt, right? He's mostly cattle dog, lab, and boxer, interestingly enough. So, yeah, I guess we're noticing a pattern here. Anyway. Speaking of Blue Origin, Dave Limp posted something here about, oh, hey, baby. All right, what do we got? This week, we completed a direct field acoustic test on our Blue Moon Mark 1 lunar lander, a major flight qualification milestone. We surrounded the fully integrated lander with a ring of 34-foot speaker towers to generate a near diffuse acoustic field, matching the New Glenn payload fairing environment at over 138 decibels overall sound pressure level. That's okay. It's pretty loud. Dave Limp. Mark 1 ran an in-flight-like configuration, tanks pressurized with helium and nitrogen, batteries powering the vehicle, with all critical avionics and guidance systems operating. 43 triaxial accelerometers measured response during a 2-minute exposure at proto-qualification levels. Because the lander's vibration environment is driven by acoustic loads, This test replaces traditional shaker-based vibration testing with more accurately represents ascent conditions. Dude. Now that's a PA system. More gold than an English cricket team. Okay, all right, I got that. No, they're not subwoofers, Noswolf. It's a PA. It's high, medium, and lows. It's designed to represent the acoustic environment inside of New Glen's payload fairing. Long story short, rockets are loud. The payload, despite being at the top, still gets pretty damn loud in there. Yeah. You imagine playing like Led Zeppelin through that? Hey, mama said the way you move, gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. Can't do that when you're sick. Yeah. Du hast. What are we playing? Rammstein through it? Play Thunderstruck? That'd be amazing. No stairway. Denied. I love Blue Moon because in all of my years of KSP, I never thought to put the fuel tanks on top of your landers. Why not? I didn't either, Jack, for what it was worth. Well, I did make the... What's the MMB then, though? Does the MMB count? Does that count? Those fuel tanks are on the side. Oh my God, the mobile mining base is a saddle lander. No. No. The mobile mining bases we made in KSP a long time ago, that's a saddle lander. Oh, like Dynetics. Oh, gross. Yucky. Yucky, cucky, poo-poo. No. Crap. But to be fair, I made it before they did. There's a company called Dynetics, not Dianetics. That's something different. That proposed a concept for HLS for a saddle-style lander. Basically, fuel tanks on the sides. I made a lander in KSP like that a long time ago to do the exact same things. It's a big shirt that's close to the ground. Only I put rover wheels on mine and drove it around. The Leidos company, yeah, right. Bark at the moon. Nice, Magnus. Corpa, yeah, play Corpa through those speakers. The alpaca deserves this lander. That thing sucked. Dude, what a terrible design. I don't mean to be a jerk, but so they proposed the design for HLS and sent it to NASA, and NASA looked at it and said, your lander only has 2,000 meters a second delta V. You know you need like 5 to land on the moon, right? And they said, yeah, we'll solve that problem. And NASA went, yeah, I'm sure you will. Who else proposed HLS? How do I evade an arrest warrant in MSC? Find another way out of the house. Bill, you worked at Dynetics on it. There were so many issues. Really? Dude? Oh man, I don't mean to be a dick, but that negative mass margin thing. Yeah, that was kind of a red flag, dude. I mean, the idea isn't the worst idea in concept, but yeah, you got to make sure it has enough delta V to land. That's kind of important. Are you excited for the Moon Hotel? Yeah, if that ever happens, Orbit, I'd be excited for it, sure. An alpaca lander, the saddle landers. You gotta be kidding me. No, 2K out of 5 was just an exaggeration. It had a negative mass margin, Jack. It was too heavy. The fundamental issue of side saddle landers is that your launch load path and your landing load paths are completely different. So you basically have to double up your structure. Yeah. Yeah, Philly, right? I'm remembering now. You would have had to have launched it sideways inside of a payload fairing. And then you would have had to, it would have, oh. Who thought that was a good idea, man? For real. Who thought that? No. Oh, boy. How close are we to a moon base alpha type base? End of the decade, John. Nuclear powered, too. Also, NASA made us get rid of the drop tanks, which kind of killed any chance of it working. Okay. I didn't know that part, Philly. That's ridiculous, man. Anyway. Yeah, Mark 1, dude. This, yeah, that, guys, so that's Blue Moon's Mark 1 lander, or Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 lander is what it's called. That, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to the moon this year. I'm pretty sure that's the next New Glenn launch, unless something changed since, since, like, Christmas. Sorry if you touched on this already. What are your thoughts on the 1-star ship per hour in 3 years quote from Elon? Realistic, optimistic, pure fantasy. That's an optimistic goal, Space Ghost. Elon always sets his sights extremely high. He says, I want 1-star ship per hour in 3 years. I'd say the realistic thing is like maybe getting 1-star ship a week. 1-star ship a week is still miles beyond anything flying right now. Like 1-star ship a week with 100 tons to Leo every shot. That's 52,000 tons in 1 year to low Earth orbit. Think about it, dude. That's no joke, man. Clearly an idiot or someone that plays KSP too much. No, yeah, right. Probably wouldn't fit in Starship. I know we were maxing out on the long Vulcan fairing. I think New Glenn probably could have done it, dude, but why would Blue launch your lunar lander when they got their own, right? Like, yeah, the load path thing makes a lot more sense, dude. Like, I don't know why you'd propose that. Like, believe it when you see it. Yeah, Harry, that's the thing. Everybody, like, when Elon says they're going to do the seemingly impossible, right? Everyone always gets divided into two groups, right? One is like, he's going to do it. We love Elon. He's the best. He'll do it. And the other group goes, he always says these things happen. The flip side of that, he always says these things and they never do them, right? it always takes a lot longer. Reality is usually somewhere in the middle. By Elon's own admission in one of Tim Dodd's factory tours of Starbase, he said SpaceX is really good at taking the impossible and making it late. Therein lies, you should apply that statement to the context of Elon saying in 3 years a Starship is going to launch every hour. That is quite actually impossible. By today's standards, you're not launching. They couldn't even do that with Falcon 9. They couldn't launch a Falcon 9 every hour right now. There's not enough drone ships. I don't think there's enough Falcon 9s to do it. But take the impossible and make it late. My guess would be in 3 years, SpaceX could probably get Starships down to once a week. Is once a week good enough to do the HLS mission? Yes, absolutely. It is absolutely good enough to do the HLS mission. For Artemis 3, sure. Plenty good. Those refueling flights, no problem. Take 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months is fine. That's perfect for a launch campaign for Artemis 3, considering the flux in the Artemis 3 schedule. Like, it could go forward, it could go back, depending on SLS integration. If I had to guess, fellas, they're probably scaling Starship around HLS and around the requirements. Or around SLS, excuse me. They're probably scaling to it. Why wouldn't they? If you're basically have Starship ready to be able to do the Artemis 3 mission whenever SLS is ready, the president gives you a goal now. Gives you a goal of 2028. So that means SpaceX has to demonstrate their architecture in 2027, because that's what the contract calls for, an uncrewed Starship landing to test HLS. Right? So that means you have to be able to launch a lot of Starships in 2027. That's next year. See what I mean? Once a week? That's still pretty crazy. But take the impossible and make it late. He said if they set a goal to try and launch a Starship an hour in 3 years' time, right? That, even if you scaled to once a week, that's good enough to do HLS in time. Does that make sense? Now, what about bursting one every couple of hours for a short period, but then having a long downtime? Yeah, jokes. I get it. Yeah. Hey, and you're making the most complicated rocket around and trying to make it fully reusable with the stakeholder expectations that it is fully reusable, can be mass produced, and can be launched every hour. That's not exactly an easy thing to do. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He said FSD would be reality by now. Take the impossible and make it late. Think about it. That means that, are they going to be flying once every hour in the next 3 years? Probably not. But they probably will be flying once a week in the next 3 years. I would say that. I would say that's very realistic. That's a very realistic goal. This is his style, dude. I've been following Elon for like 15 years, man. And discussing almost his every word, like, here on during space news segments, man. He always does this. He sets a ridiculous goal, and he states it publicly so his engineers know. And his engineers are going to try. They're going to try to do it. And even if they fail, they're still miles ahead of everybody else. This is the reason why a Falcon 9 launches 3 times a week and why other launch providers launch maybe once a month. That is the exact reason. He always does this. He does that at Tesla too. Like I said, everybody looks at it so there's like in a very diametric way. Like, oh, he's an idiot, he's full of crap, or oh my god, he's a smart super genius. No, it's somewhere in between. People don't learn, Harry. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't learn, brother. The thing you got to understand with him is that he's a persistent son of a bitch, dude. You know, the reason why that guy made so much money is because he can tread water longer than everybody else. Think about it. You're in a competition for treading water. He'll just tread water longer than everybody else. Everybody else drowns. Guy's just persistent, man. And you know what, dudes? Just on a quick side note, like I said, Elon has his flaws, etc., right? We all do. Being persistent is like 90% of the battle, dude. You just don't give up. You know how many people try to do crazy things and they just give up? Don't give up. Just keep going. Just keep going. That's how he does this, man. He just keeps going. You just keep going. Now that's not easy. That's easier said than done, you know. But If you want a little bit of insight, and I mean, I've been following him for a long time, dude. I've watched what he's been able to accomplish and what he hasn't been able to accomplish. What he says he's going to be able to accomplish. This is what he does. He sets the sights high. And even if you fall short, you're still miles ahead of everybody else. The guy isn't looking at like market conditions to denote his stakeholder expectations for his rockets. He's not like, oh, well, you know, we only need to launch this. If we launch, the commercial industry only needs 50 tons a year to low Earth orbit. If we optimize a rocket to launch once every month and, you know, aggregate the 50% across the 50 tons across 12 launches, we'll maximize our profit margin. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. No. He just says, I want to make a rocket that moves more than anything into space. More than anything, because we need to colonize Mars. Those are the driving stakeholder expectations. A rocket that is capable enough to provide you a viable access portal to Mars and back. Something akin to the Transcontinental Railroad. Or if you want to go back in European history, the canals that are around Western Europe. Revolutionized the economies inland because ships can sail down the damn rivers. He didn't do anything. He bought Tesla. He purchases his engineers. He does nothing himself. I see, TFT, that you're in the Elon does nothing category that I was just telling you about. What did I tell you about these two categories? What did I just tell you about that, man? It's not this one. It's not this one. It's somewhere in between. I would say you're right. I don't think Elon's an engineer. I think he's a damn good project manager. Probably the best one ever to exist. Ever. Period. Full stop. Just saying. He's also pretty dang good at engineering, too. Just for what it's worth. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see, what other space news do we got here? We got something from from ESA here. What are they? Okay, it's jiggling. Commence the jiggling. But ESA, why are you like this? Why are you like this? Stop! Just... Why are you like that? Why are you the way that you are? Stop doing that. How do you do, fellow kids? All right. Plato passes vibration. So this is vibration testing and checkout. The spacecraft was vigorously shaken to mimic the powerful jolts and vibrations that Plato will experience during launch. The vibration tests are part of a series of tough examinations that Plato had to pass to graduate for launch. This is vibration acceptance testing. That's what it is. Freaking vibe testing. Yeah, Dabble Dud. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, I disagree. Okay, cool. All right. So that's the Plato mission, which is pretty cool. What's that mission do? I just got to... Okay, so Plato will study terrestrial planets in orbits up to the habitable zone of sun-like stars and characterize those stars. Cool. Sweet. Good mission. People pay good money in cheap motels for that, you know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Tessa. It's crazy. Got to start doing launch predictions. These channel ports are getting lonely. Will we reach a point where HLS will be able to do Earth orbit rendezvous with Dragon and take people to the moon?
Throttle up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're building that type of capability in, John. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think SpaceX is more they put human rating Starship as a higher priority than Dragon EOR, but that's just my opinion. I don't know that for sure. Dead Scum, 41-month resub. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Nick. Hold on. Sorry. Quiet for a second. Nice. My feedback for KSA was accepted. Nice. That doesn't suck. That's pretty good. I bet Starship will be able to hold humans safely in 6. I'm not finishing that sentence. Oh, you like? Did you just tell chat to be quiet? Hey, it's busy. No, guys, I can say this. I'm not gonna say who, what, where, or why, but I've been doing more consulting work for KSA, Kitten Space Agency. It's the spiritual successor to the Kerbal Space Program franchise. It's done by a company called RocketWorks out of New Zealand. I am working with them on consulting. Basically, I go in there and I'm like, what would you say you do here? You know? That was a joke. Excuse your friend. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Ah, you've made them a hinge. Got it. Good guess, but no. All right, I'm blaming you when it doesn't work right or there are technical issues. SVO, I will tell you this. If that project had 100% of my attention, there would be no problems with it. I'm confident enough in my stakeholder expectations for what a spiritual successor of Kerbal would look like that I would make sure that it does exactly what is needed. Now, somebody, with all that being said, somebody would find a way to break it. But that's Kerbal in a nutshell, so. Consultants can just blame the execution. That's not what I just did. No, I honestly and truly, I think RocketWorks is they're doing it right. They are doing it right. They're doing it correctly. You know why? Because they're talking to the people that care. It's not just me that's doing consulting. There are other people. I won't say who. But yeah, good stuff, man. Real good stuff. So, I'm going to, Creeper, if you're still here, I'm going to cut out some stuff that we can do some other time. But I wanted to get I wanted to get into this. My buddy Elisar over at NSF clipped this from Space Coast Live. Guys, this is Space Coast Live. So that's Kennedy Space Center. They have started installing the ship quick disconnect at pad 39. That's the SQD. That is a huge critical milestone for this pad being an operational facility. That's the SQD, the ship quick disconnect. That is the 39A launch pad. The 39A pad is looking pretty damn complete. Now, I would say it's still a little bit behind where the pad at Boca Chica is in terms of completion, but that looks pretty dang close. Starship launch from the Cape in April? No, I don't think so. Common flaw in project managers is not talking to the right people. That's a fact, Ismic. Yeah, you ain't kidding. 39A is screaming ahead. I don't know, man. That's pretty good. Launch at Boca, land in the Cape. They wouldn't do that with a super heavy. They would do that with a ship, though. But not this year. That's down the road, or down the barge. Breakover device. How far along is the tank farm there? It's being worked on. I would say that Boca Chica's is probably a little bit more complete, Yum Food, just because it's, it was already built. They built that one from scratch, as far as I can tell. You know what? I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's been any recent sat photos of 39A. I know there's been an NSF flyover. Let me go see if we can just look at a bit of that. I'm looking around for it. Time between launches get halved. Here's a real question. Does the Starship cadence get halved or more this year? Give me 1 second. When was the last time they did a Cape flyover? Huh. I think they need more LOX tanks, but I'm not sure. I'm also there's also very little concrete at 39A. Dude, they're working on that tank farm. I know those tank. I don't know the status of it, but I know they're making some good progress. I think that's probably what's going to take. I think the pad will be finished before the tank farm, if you really want my honest opinion. Once again, Boca's tank farm was already there. Starbase's tank farm is already there. It already existed. Now, okay, so help us to answer your question. Here's a real question. Does the Starship cadence get halved or more this year? And this goes back to that scaling question that we were talking about. I don't think in 3 years SpaceX will hit Starship flights every hour. But I do think it'll probably, like I said, be somewhere in between. In terms of this year, dude, I think they'll do about the same. About the same as what they did in 2025. What did we get in 2025? Was it 5 launches? We got 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Yes, we got 5. I think it'll be about the same. Maybe up to 10. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Now, why? Why would I say that? So SpaceX... Okay. This kind of feeds into my bigger kind of perceptions of what SpaceX is doing with the Starship program right now. And that kind of needs a little bit of backstory. So the gist of it is that I think that 2025 was essentially a stopgap year for Starship. If you really want my honest opinion, I think SpaceX had all the fixes for Starship that affected most of the Block 2 flights figured out, at least in 2024. What they couldn't do is build Block 3 fast enough. I honestly and truly believe that every Starship flight, every Block 2 Starship flight, so Flight 7 to Flight 11, were just them biding their time to get the Block 3 design up and running. Think about it. SpaceX says we're doing rapid iteration. We're doing rapid iteration. Yeah, doing rapid iteration and poking holes in your thermal protection system, that's not really rapidly iterating now, is it? You know, using mitigation systems. SpaceX doesn't do mitigation systems. They don't do mitigations. They just solve the problem. Right? That's not how they roll. They don't do that. But yet we saw mitigations on Flight 7 and Flight 8. We saw fire suppressant systems, Raptor 2 causing leaks, etc., etc. Now, what was one of the biggest changes between Raptor 2 and Raptor 3? Raptor 3 is designed to eliminate as many flanges as possible in the design. We've known that as far back as early 2024, that's what they were trying to do with Raptor. They're trying to get rid of all the flanges, and they're trying to weld every bit together instead of bolting it together. Now, there are trade-offs to doing that. Welding is a more permanent solution. It'll make maintenance on the engine pretty much like nigh impossible. You have to take the whole thing apart to maintain the smallest thing. But Raptor 3 engines eliminate flanges for 2 reasons. 1, they're easier to manufacture if you eliminate flanges. 2, they don't leak. A Methalox full flow stage combustion cycle has high pressures everywhere. Raptor is designed to operate with a 300 bar chamber pressure, and it's going up. Now, why get rid of flanges? Manufacturing, but they leak. That's the biggest thing. So what did Block 2 have? Block 2 had a lot of leaks, and those leaks caused explosions, and those explosions caused RUDs. I honestly think that the entirety of 2025 and all 5 flights that we saw, 2 of them I saw in person in 2025, were quite actually just stopgaps. SpaceX was biding their time till Block 3 gets ready. Personally, when the second pad at Starbase gets operational and when 39A gets operational, I think the floodgates will open. SpaceX has stacked Booster 19. I said Booster 19 by Christmas. Booster 18 had a problem because SpaceX doesn't know how to handle COPVs correctly, apparently. And it blew up on the test stand. Booster 19 was done less than a month later. So if Booster 19 is done, what's to say that Booster 20 won't be ready by the end of this month? And then Booster 21 by the end of February. What about Ship 40, Ship 41? You think that the entirety of Star Factory, some 15,000 strong employees, are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs while Ship 39 gets ready for flight? No, not a chance. They're working on the assembly lines. They're working on building all the components so you could assemble these vehicles quicker. Because manufacturing and mass production is a stakeholder expectation for SpaceX. They need to build stuff quick. You need to be able to mass produce these things and build a lot of them. The manufacturing process and lowering manufacturing time is part of it's part of Starship's goals, just as much as landing something on Mars. I think they were biding their time. They finished all the Block 2 vehicles as much as they could, right? And the second those vehicles went out the door, they started retooling everything for Block 3. And Block 3 has all of the fixes that were encountered during Block 2 because SpaceX already knew about them. How do I know they already knew about them? They were trying to mitigate said problems. That means it's a known risk, right? You following me? I think 2025 was an entire stopgap, and I don't think that could be counted towards launch cadence, to be honest with you, because it's just they were just waiting. They were retooling. Once Block 3 gets up and running, we'll see how ready they are. Because Block 3 is not, Hellfish, I'll say this, and this is kind of more to the point of answering your question. Block 3 is not like Block 2. It's designed to fly a lot. It's designed to, that's the mass-produced one that's designed to be reused. To steal a quote from the other rich rocket guy, don't build rockets, build a company that builds rockets. Well, there you go. Mass production is part of the stakeholder expectations, Philly. You know about this, dude. That's why they made it out of steel. That's the trade-off. You have mass fraction complications with using 304X stainless for your rocket. But that makes it way easier to produce, and it also means that you don't need as much mass for your thermal protection system, because Starship can quite actually tank the freaking heat because it's stainless. You don't need as big of a thermal like as thick of a tile, right? Because aircraft grade aluminum doesn't take the heat as well as stainless does. The mass production is part of it, which is, yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe that something like Starbase actually exists. It's ridiculous. It's like Willow Run, but for rockets, man. It's crazy. No entry burn for the booster. Yep, simplified mission because the stainless can tank the heat. We saw it. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's crazy. How long until SpaceX has their own steel mill? See, that's the key there, Hellfish. They don't need their own steel mill. Texas makes a lot of stainless steel. Do you know why? The oil industry. There's plenty of stainless steel facilities around there to go around because of the oil and gas industry, which quite actually makes the rocket industry look small. That was the other thing with switching to stainless steel. There is a very, very well-established pool of resources to pull from if you make your rocket out of 304X stainless. That, and there's a lot of people that work in the Rio Grande Valley that are good with stainless steel. That's the other reason why they went with it. There's a lot of technical personnel there that already know how to deal with this type of material because of the oil and gas industry. There's an LC-39A view in the NSF Starbase update from 2 days ago, 6:30 mark.
As SpaceX gears
All
up.
right, let's see. Wait, who's near?
3 teams are at long last nearing
Is that
completion of
Max?
Pad 2. Meanwhile, here on the
Yeah, it is
Space
Max.
Coast, some major hardware has arrived at LC.
All right, let's see what we
here to
got.
Follow along. Now, circling back for a second in the aforementioned satellite imagery, we can see a lot of progress.
Yeah, see what I'm saying, Drew? Look, they got all that concrete poured. You're right. It's just bringing in tanks and hooking them up at this point. I'm saying that like that's some easy thing to do, but you get the idea. Yeah, that's Harry Stranger. Planet Labs took this. This is from NSF's Starbase update. Off topic, but how many 79 Mercury Cougars are still around? Just discovered and love the design. 79. That's a Fox platform. You want this? Hold on. Zach, I'll check in a second. You want one of those? Dude, you know that thing is like 20 feet long. That thing's like 5 meters long, right? You know that, right? Like, that's a Jack Telnack design. The same guy that designed the Thunderbird. How many of these things are around? They're around if you can find them. It's a Fox platform, so that's on the same chassis as a Mustang, dude. You should be able to find parts for it. Even in Germany, man. Yeah, it's finding one over there. It might be a little bit of a problem. In the US, they're around. That wasn't the most popular Mercury Cougar, to be honest with you. The most popular one was 67. But yeah, they're around. In the US, you probably walk into one of those in decent condition for like five to $8,000. Something like that. Yeah, yeah, you know what, dude? It is a nice looking car. I agree. It's nice. 79 XR7. Yeah, that's nice, dude. That's cheap. Well, yeah, one in Germany is probably not nearly as cheap. Oh. It's based on the Ford Torino split. Oh, it's not a Fox platform. It's Torino. So that's a little bit older. Yeah, that might be hard finding parts for that thing. Yeah, that would be difficult finding parts for it. But, bro, the wagon. Holy shnikes, the wagon. That's awesome. Okay, all right, I can't keep looking at that. We got to go back to space news. I can't keep looking. Dude, I can't keep doing that. That's bad. The Mercury Capri was the Fox body. That's right, Rarest. Yeah, you're correct. Oh, that wagon was mint. Yeah, Fox was the Capri. Yeah, Bill, you guys are right. I was thinking something else. I think it's still a Jack Telnet car, if I'm remembering right. He's the guy that designed the Thunderbird. You would kill to get your 76 XR7 back. It was big, guzzled gas, and hauled butt. And it was even painted turd brown. Love it, dude. So ridiculous. Let's take a car and let's make it the color of poop. All right. Sounds great, man. What about the interior? Maybe baby poop. All right. Cool. Sweet. Headliner? Beige. All right, cool. So we have light brown on dark brown on beige for our color palette. Yep. Yeah, that'll work. Let's do that. All right, cool. Sounds good, man. Unbelievable. What's wrong with brown? Nothing. I'm saying it's cool because it's ridiculous. And yeah, let's put wood grain on top of that. Yeah, okay. That's a vibe, dude. That's a vibe. Anyway, yeah, so Helpish, I think they'll match 2025 flight rate, but I would tell you that 5 Block 3 flights is probably going to be more condensed into the latter half of this year. Their real thing right now is that SpaceX is still just biding their time. They got to finish 39A, and they got to finish Boca Chica, that pad at Boca Chica. You got to finish them. You got to get these pads working. They're close to being done. I would say both of them are pretty close to being done, but they're not fully complete. Champagne gold from that era for me, Aqualix, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Drunar, you think the independent down tubers for the R2 vac being susceptible to pogo was hammering on the power head flanges causing leaks? Thoughts? Yeah. Yes. They were definitely susceptible to harmonic oscillation. If you want my own personal opinion, I think that the harmonic oscillation was because of the flex joints that they used on the R2 down tubers for the Block 2 Starship and where they were placed, but we won't get too far into the weeds with that, Drew. For reasons. I think that's correct. Yes. Pogo. The crawler transporter for Artemis 2 was the same crawler transporter that carried Apollo 4. Yep. CT2. All right, guys. Well, we're basically up to the 3-hour mark. I would say that's good. That's good enough for space news, dudes. That's good enough. When cars start getting mentioned, we should probably... I think we've discussed the news. I think we've discussed the news in pretty good detail. The KID re-entry thing was just cool. Yeah. Did you catch this? I swear to God, if this is something about Dawn, I'm going to slap you. It's something about Dawn. Come here. Come here. I'm going to slap you. 15 flights at the dawn of the Aurora spaceplane era. Nice, dude. Cool. All right. Cool. So, yeah, that is the Space and Rocket review. What's next on the menu? Don't go anywhere. We still got plenty of stream left. We're going to play My Winter Car and try to make more money to recoup our losses from dying because it's permadeath, and I play permadeath because I hate myself. So stick around. It'll be happening here momentarily. We'll switch back over to My Winter Car. That's going to do it for the Space and Rocket review from the 15th of January, 2026. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to jog the YouTube bot. If you're on Twitch, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.